Okay, hi there, everyone. We're doing communication over the OSC protocol, Open Sound Control protocol between TouchDesigner and VCV Rack. In general, if you're not familiar with OSC, you should be. It's just a standard protocol, works for all kinds of different software platforms, processing, Maximus P, like you name it. Anytime you want to pass control data from one program to another. That's the easiest and most standard way to do it. Also from one computer to another, if you're on the same network, that is possible. In TouchDesigner, we are using the OSC out chop right now. We will also use OSC in to get control data from Rack. For now, we'll just stick with the out one. In Rack, we're using TroaSoft's CV OSC CV module, which in order to grab this, there is not an official release on the official VCV library. So if you go to browse VCV library and search for TroaSoft, you will not find it. But the developer has provided an alpha version for Rack 2.0 on the GitHub. So if you search for TroaSoft GitHub, we can go down here to GitHub releases page. And so here we see that the version for Rack version 1. Initial V2 conversion, which is alpha, is right here. So this is what you grab depending on your platform. In my experience, this it feels pretty stable. I've used it for a few months now, and I've had a couple crashes, but it seems pretty stable. It seems like the developer was still shooting to create an official release, but it hasn't happened yet. So just download this depending on your platform. What you'll end up with, I've already put it in here, so actually let me go ahead and find it. What you'll end up with when you download that zip is this folder right here, TroaSoft, and it looks like most other kind of plugin folders here with all of the files that the modules need to run. So you just drag that into this plugins folder. So by default, Rack 2 will create this Rack 2 folder inside your documents folder, inside your user folder, so on and so forth. So this is where all of the the module libraries live that you have added. So once you plop it in there, restart Rack, it will show up. Beautiful. Okay. Some of the other TroaSoft modules, there's some other like sequencer type things. Let's kind of look at right here, but we're just using the CV OC CV, and then also there's a couple of expanders for that too, which we can look at. Okay, so we've got this. We're just working on the local host, which is this computer, right? So TouchDesigner and Rack are on the same computer, so that's going to simplify things. So I want to send this control data of just a simple noise chop over into this, and then let's say I use it for some other purpose in Rack. So first thing we need to do is let's just open up our parameters for our OSC out chop. And so we can see network address localhost by default. That means this computer. Also, sometimes you might see another name for localhost is the IP address of 127.0.0.1. That just means this computer. So let's just, whatever. Simple is better, right? And network port is what we need to set. So it's an arbitrary number. Typically, it's a 4-digit number, or in this case, 5 digits, I guess. It can be anything. But the sender and the receiver just have to match. So if we go over here to our TroaSoft module and I hit master config, the in port is what we care about here. So we're going out here and over here. And so this is set to 7001. I'll just go ahead and just keep these numbers as they are until that's 7001. And we have to enable this. Beautiful. And nothing's happening yet, but we close the config window and still nothing's happening. So why? That's because even though we have the port number right, we're sending on 7001, we're receiving on 7001. The CV OSC CV module is expecting a channel name of the CH/1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but our channel name is Chan1 from our noise chop here. So we either we change the channel name over here or we change it over here. Either way, it just has to match. So we'll do chan 1 right there. Hit that again. And I can see that this is wiggling right there. Let's go ahead and grab this over. So connect the value output to a scope, and we can see that that is coming through properly. All right, looks good. So value is just the value of that channel. What trigger will do is every time it receives new data, it will send a trigger. So as it is now, I guess it's not so useful because it's basically just sending it constantly. Let's say if I stopped my TouchDesigner timeline though, so we can see that's no longer triggering. Even if I had something like, let's say like a constant that wasn't even changing. Okay, so that number is not changing at all. Nonetheless, we're still getting this trigger over here because even if, like OSC is still sending the number 0 over and over and over and over, even though that number is not changing. So, trigger can be useful in some occasions, I imagine, but really value is what we care about more. So we're going to just delete that trigger. We don't really need that right now. So we can see, so by default, our noise chop is roughly from +1 to -1. Depending on our seed, it'll be, more or less -1 to +1, whatever. And we can see that the voltage corresponds to that. Okay, great. But what we could do, we could go ahead and change the range depending on what voltage range we are going to need, right? So if we needed CV in a range of roughly -0.5 to +0.5, then we don't need to change anything. That's great. But another thing we could do is go back into config. We hit this advanced option here, and we could go ahead and convert values right here. So we check convert values. My range coming in here, I mean, ostensibly it should be +1 to -1 because our amplitude is set to 1, but just for this random seed, it's looking much more like 0.5 to -5. So whatever, it's arbitrary. Just you look at your values and you change it correspondingly. And maybe I wanted that to, depends on what you're using it for. Maybe I'll connect it to a VCA somewhere. So I'll just go 0 to 10. Great, save it. And now we can see our values are going 0 volts to 10 volts. So that's a little bit more usable. Okay, cool. Multiple channels can come in. So let's just try this really quick. So we can do this little trick here. Let's say create 4 different channels, and as long as the names are matching, we will get all that data coming in. Chan 1, 2, 3, 4, and we could connect these, whatever. Right, I didn't change the range of these other ones, so it's still like -1 to +1, but you get the picture. We could have, let's do this. Maybe I've got all that coming from one. Maybe over here I've got some sort of a trigger. And let's do a merge. And so you can see when I did this chan 1 automatically got renamed to chan 5 because there's already a copy over there. So what if I send this through? You know what? Let's just get rid of. Let's do. Okay, so we got chan 1, 2, 3. So this trigger, functions like an ADSR essentially. So every time I pulse that, so you can see. Let's just connect this to number 4 here. Okay, beautiful. Goes up, goes down. Let me open this up here. So this is going 0 to 1. So let's convert 0 to 1. I want this to go from 0 to 10. Okay, try it again. Pulse. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So now I have this nice little trigger chop, which is basically just an ADSR envelope coming through. I could have up to 8 channels coming through here. Again, the channel naming is arbitrary. It could be potato, mango, strawberry, apple, whatever you like, as long as the names here match the names in the TouchSoft module. Once we get beyond 8 channels, we need to use our little expander, which let's just get some more real estate here. And we can get, right here's output expander. So once you kind of plop it right next to it, this little red lights activates. And then once we go into config, I could hit this little right button, and now we're looking at these outputs, and we have channels 9 through 16. So same deal. We can rename it, go into this advanced here to change the ranges and all that. And then once we actually close the config, then it will be outputting. So very useful, flexible, easy. For going the other direction, what if we had, let's just get like kind of plain old ADSR, let's say. And I'll just get another scope, whatever. Let's make it a little bit sharper, maybe. There we go. Okay. Boom, boom. All right. And I want to send this right here. So I go into the val. Let's go ahead and rename it. Maybe ADSR1 makes sense. And so I'll go ahead and go in here, convert values. So this one is 0 to 10 volts, right? So let's make sure we have that. And then maybe in TouchDesigner, I just want it to be 0 to 1. Okay, cool. Close that. So right now my out port is set to 7,000. And much like in TouchDesigner, it's kind of like hiding here now, I had to set whatever is the thing sending needs to say where the IP address of the recipient is, right? So over here, OC out is saying send it to localhost. Right here, this is sending it, and this is saying localhost also. It's the same thing. If you're sending it to a different machine, it has to be on the same network, and you need to input the recipient's IP address here. So either here or right here on network address. So either way. And we'll go port 7000. Okay, so what we do over here, let's get an OSC in. And we'll do network port 7000. And that's it. So we wait and see. Once I click this, boom, there we go. Beautiful. So that is showing up there. And why? Okay, that's the last channel 1, because I didn't close that. There we go. Okay. So let me just reset channels. Beautiful. Okay, great. Looks like on the release, it's not quite going back to 0, but whatever. We can tweak the math a little bit there. I think maybe the my ranges I had right here, maybe there's a little issue with that, but it's working. So that's all you need to know for now. So that's basically it. Same deal with the input expander. If we look at back over here, let's go back to TouchSoft and output input. Plop that right here, and config left, and then we can determine channels 9 through 16 on the input if you need it. And that's good for this one, I think. That just opens up a lot of communication with different programs. You could have, I guess ostensibly you could have multiple OSC ins and outs, multiple CV, OSC, CV modules, as long as you just keep all of your ports straight. And this one goes to this one, so on and so forth, and it works. Also, if you have multiple machines hooked up, this is not just a one-to-one setup. You could have, let's say, if you have multiple machines that you're all collaborating. Let's say like multiple people with sound, and then there's a single visual output. Let's say everyone has data coming in here from this module IP address for the visuals laptop, let's say. So all of those other machines would be sending data, and then in the let's say this would be like the master, TouchDesigner laptop. It could be getting all this data from multiple other machines. As long as port is set, each one kind of has its own unique port. IP address of the TouchDesigner machine is in all of the senders. So this can be a really open, flexible system for collaboration. Cool.